belong with you belong with me, my sweet home. I belong with you belong with me, my sweet home.
Welcome, folks, to the first edition of Bucky's Corner video recap of the Badgers' 45-0 victory over UMass yesterday. Pretty standard game when it comes to the Badger, former games against lower opponents. UMass is used to be an FCS, is now in their second year of an FBS. Really, the offense looked good. The running attack looked phenomenal, obviously, with all three rushers going over 100 yards, including the freshman running back, obviously, Corey Clement, who I thought looked great, ran for 101 yards. Melvin looked good, ran strong, and same with James White. So the running back crew, really did not skip a beat, from last year at all. I thought Stave looked okay. I really didn't think he stood out at all. 9 of 17, 197 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 throwing. Interception was bad. I mean, he really overthrew. I think it was Eberderis or Frederick. I don't know if Eberderis or Frederick didn't cut. We're supposed to do a post and didn't cut soon enough. That's Stave thought, but that was a bad interception. Also, too, even though Eberderis had those 2 long touchdown runs, Stave underthrew him on both. And it's fine against UMass and teams like that, and next week against Tennessee Tech, that's fine, Facing an inferior opponent and inferior secondary, I mean, those plays will be allowable. But when you get to teams that are much tougher in conference play, he needs to be able to throw the deep ball consistently. I mean, he can throw it consistently, but he needs to be able to hit guys like, just mainly guys like Eberderis in stride. The other wide receivers were, I mean, Frederick caught some passes. Doe, the tight ends looked good. So I thought, in the offensive line, there was a lot of question marks on the offensive line going into this season, but I thought they looked good. I thought they really controlled, the line of scrimmage from the start, and obviously that's what allowed the backs to kind of run wild. Now looking defensively, it's got to be taken with a grain of salt because they look good. Only allowed 212 yards of total offense. No tackles for loss. But I mean, that quarterback was really bad. The quarterback was not very good at all. I mean, he was 9 of 24. Obviously with no touchdown passes. So he really was bad. But I thought, the secondary did all right. I was impressed with Shelton. Sojourn Shelton. I'm gonna have to get that name down. But number 8. I mean, for a true freshman, he looked like he was ready for the moment. Up front, I really like their front 7. I mean, and the best part about the front 7 is that there's a lot of able bodies that are in there, and there's really not a beat being missed, from the first guy down to the second guy. In the special teams, I mean, French has got to hit that field goal, 39-yard field goal. I thought Meyer did good. Nothing. He didn't stand out like like the UMass punter. UMass punter was not very good either. And it was an interesting look with the two, with Frederick and Doe back there for punt returns. I thought that was, different, and it's very interesting seeing that because that's something we really never saw, if at all, under the previous special teams coordinator like Charlie Partridge. But ironically enough, Jeff Jank, Wisconsin's new special teams coordinator from Nevada, is actually a special teams guy, knows special teams, rather than a defensive guy turned into a special teams. So I think for the player of the game, I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon. I just think that he looked the best. Just the way he runs. The way I don't know. I mean, he's going to be special. I think we know that. I think we know he's going to be special, but just each and every week, um, you know, him and him and White are going to be a potent backfield. And obviously with Clement as well. This is Clement's first game and he's a third string running back and still runs for 100 yards, 101 yards and a touchdown. So I thought those, uh, Gordon is my player of the game. My loser of the game is unfortunately going to be Stave. I just think that, I mean, yeah, he had 2 touchdowns, but he's got to be better. He really does. If they are going to compete for the Big Ten championship, or let's say they're eliminated, or they don't make it to the Big Ten title game, because probably Ohio State's going to make it there. He has to be better if they're going to compete for a BCS bid. And again, I think he did a good job of spreading the wealth offensively. And he wasn't bad. He had a passing efficiency rating of, what was it, 177? Yeah, 177.3. He had the long passes of the 65 and 57, like I mentioned before. But again, like I mentioned before, they weren't really good balls. It just so happened that on the second one, the defender tripped, and the other one, Aberderis kind of just had to come back to the ball. But a good cornerback, if he doesn't get an interception, he's definitely batting the ball down. Now looking ahead to Tennessee Tech, it's going to be much of the same. Student section won't be full until about 7 or 6 minutes left in the first quarter. Most of the student section will leave after jump around. It'll probably be a 55-7 game, 45 zip, somewhere along that range, like it was this past week. But one thing I'm anxious for is to see how the new helmets go. We've all obviously seen it's basically just the helmet, the color scheme switched around. The white is now the W, and then the rest of the helmet's red, obviously. That'll be interesting. Kind of see Wisconsin a new kind of look. It's not a big one, obviously, but so that'll be intriguing. But that's probably the most intriguing thing I'm anxious to watch, and to see how the running backs do as well. All right, folks, that's it for Bucky's Corner. First video recap. We will check in with you next week